former Greater Manchester police officer, a woman, has been accused, and I guess is standing trial for stealing a police uniform.
Yeah.
So, what we've identified this as a story. It's obviously slightly titillating, I suppose. But why is this important?
The fact she stole some things from work isn't the big issue here, because who hasn't taken some pens from work and a notepad, and a friend of mine, a table and a chair? That's not the issue. The issue is she was a police officer and felt it was okay to steal things from work. So if she's already a thief and has those traits, what was she doing as a police officer? What else was she doing while she was on duty? What was she overlooking? She's obviously got a poor morality. How else did that affect her doing her job? Was she more open to bribes and corruptions? And I would say possibly, of course she was more open to that. I'm not saying she did any of those things. It's just a good indicator of that. It also shows us two other things: how stupid some of our police officers are. So that's who we're also recruiting. How would you think you'd get away from stealing things from Greater Manchester Police, unless you know everyone else is doing it and no one's ever been caught?
Yeah.
And
unless there's a general acceptance that this sort of thing is acceptable within the police force.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And the other thing is, since she's been caught and it's hit the papers, this is damaging to the reputation of Greater Manchester Police now. And I'm glad she's been caught, and we should always, every public service should always wash its dirty washing in public, because we need public oversight. So I'm glad doing it. But we need to be looking at recruitment standards. How was she ever picked as a police officer? What can we do in the future going forward to ensure we get a better quality of police officer? Now, you run a business, there's different tests you can do now online and in paper, and different questions to ask. We need to move with a modern time. People will always sneak through. There'll always be bad apples who sneak through. We can't have a 100% clean record. I get that. But it seems to be every week there's another officer who's discovered doing something. We had an officer the other week who was using prostitutes while on a police training course in London. We've got other officers who, we're going to talk about in a minute, who go to jail. It's like, how are so many getting through the process? So the process needs looking at, and that's what I'll be doing if elected mayor. I'll be redesigning the recruitment process for Greater Manchester Police. It'll be physically tougher, mentally tougher. It might be hard to recruit officers, which is fine, in which case we'll have to put up the rate of pay for officers, won't we, to get a better calibre of officers. I would rather have less officers who are better than more officers with the type this woman was. So it's just a good indication of the failing recruitment process in Greater Manchester Police and all police forces across the country.
And there's 2 points for this for me that I think are interesting. Firstly, you just said then, what will people think when they read this? I don't genuinely believe anybody reading this will change their opinion of the Greater Manchester Police. I think a lot of people reading that will just say, yeah, it's the police.
Yeah.
And I think this is the next two stories are relevant to that, but I think this is where we've got to now.
Yeah.
I think the public confidence in the police and their honesty, their ability to not carry out horrific crimes is very, very low now. And I think people will read that and accept it. The second thing for me, and I think you've touched on this, is what are the recruitment policies for police? I mean, you talked about physical, mental tests. I think one of the things they should look at is IQ levels. Because I think there's a general belief that the police are not particularly bright in this country. And we see that. I mean, there was an incident the other day, I'm going away from Manchester, in London, where a priest somebody was singing a hymn
outside
or something.
Outside a church or something, yeah.
And they were told by the police officer that they couldn't do it. And I think, again, there's a belief amongst the general public that police are not particularly bright as well. So an IQ test in that recruitment process for me would, although I understand you're not allowed to do IQ tests now, basically.
No, I didn't know.
So apparently, I'll check that for next time.
Yeah, part of the problem here, the big part of the problem in the recruitment process is the box ticking. So she was probably hired mainly because she was a woman.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what she failed on. You're a woman. We need more women. You get a job. I was speaking to a chief inspector a couple of years ago who gave me a great story, and he was on a recruitment panel interviewing potential new police officers, and a British lad of Bangladeshi descent was interviewed. He passed the physical, no problem. He passed the test, no problem. And at the end, they give you a written test to check out your English, your grammar, because you've got to write a lot of reports for court if you're a police officer. And the question was, write about the best day in your life. So he wrote this story. I'll quickly paraphrase it. He was at a nightclub, met this married woman, went back to a hotel room and slept with her, woke up in the morning. He wanted to spend a bit more time with her before her husband came and picked her up. So he phoned in work and said he was sick and spent the morning having sex with her. And that was the best day of his life.
Please tell me he wasn't recruited.
So this chief inspector reads this and goes, veto. He doesn't. His no morality.
Yeah.
He hasn't got the common sense to realise this isn't an appropriate story to join the police.
Yeah.
And he admits lying to his boss not to go to work. His boss, the chief inspector's boss, goes, we need more Bangladeshi heritage police officers, so we are going to give him the job. They give him the job. That's not the end of the story. 3 years later, the chief inspector now is working for basically internal affairs, looking for corrupt police officers.
Yeah.
Gets a case on his desk of a police officer stealing trainers from something like Foot Locker, going in, buying one pair, his mate in a shop giving him 10 pairs, walking out with 10 pairs, selling them online and then splitting the money. Cop has been arrested. And he recognises the name. It's the same officer he wanted to veto 3 years ago. He's been a poor officer, he's a criminal, and now we have to sack him. Now he said, and the chief inspector said, we've got to sack him now, and it's going to make us look racist. And it makes us look racist because we never should have given him the job in the first place. So when you lower the bar to get people to join who are not good enough, we eventually sack them, and that makes us look like we don't like women, we don't like black people, we don't like people of Bangladeshi heritage. It sets us up to fail in the eyes of the public, where if we had a high bar, most of these problems wouldn't exist.
Yeah. So what you're saying is positive discrimination creates problems like that.
Yes, it does.
Because you're lowering the bar, the standards that the police force should accept as a result of positive, and you end up with people who haven't got the correct...
We want the best people for every job. And I don't care who you are, your colour, your religion, your sexuality. I don't care. I just want the best person for the job. If you like that video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell and comment. And if you like what I'm saying about running for Mayor of Greater Manchester, then stick around. Tell your family, tell your friends. The only way I'm going to have a chance of winning is a grassroots movement. So be part of that movement and hit that bell. Thanks.